Hello everyone. My name is Suyash Gupta. I am a senior software engineer here in Talentica. I have been with Talentica for like more than 5 years, and I have a total experience of 8 years. All 8 years on mobile development. I started my development with Android platform, Android native app development. I worked on Android for like 5 years, and later I switched to iOS for like 2 years, and I'm currently working on Xamarin. So if you ask in deep questions on iOS, then it's okay. I can answer you later. So how many of you are iOS developers here? Okay. How many are working with Objective-C?
Oh man. Please, huge round of applause.
So when I started my iOS development, I was at that time just got open source. December, I guess, and I saw the syntax and I just loved the language. So seeing the language, I started my development with Swift using iOS as a platform. And I came across, I mean, at that time there were not many the libraries or pods available for iOS, but still I tried to make the code cleaner by separating the logic and keeping the things so that others can understand. The one thing which helped me was commenting the code. So I'll tell you one instance what happened in my previous company. Our architect Mr. Kumar come to meet our team, and he asked all the developers working in different apps, asking them like how many of you write comments about the methods and class level methods so that it explains what exactly you are doing inside the. How many of you do that? So there was only one guy, and he was an Android developer, and he was developing an app. So architect guy, he got impressed, and he asked that guy to show his. So it was kind of a very 5-screen app. There were only 5 screens, and when he opened the project, there were only 5 actions. That's it. There was nothing else. Inside each screen, each activity, he has written everything. There was one activity which had like 5,000 lines of, and the onCreate method was around like 4,000 lines. And inside the onCreate method, everything was there. Set onClick listeners, find view by ID, call web service, get response, and response might be the callback, so it might come in different method. In that method, set it. So my architect asked him, where have you written the code? Comments. He was like, so sir, this is my onCreate method. I have commented every line. So if you want to search where you want to, you're setting the data, you can just search by Control F where the data is set. Then it will take you there. So later on, the problem with this kind of code is, let's say something changes, the button changes, and instead of calling, one click of that button, you want to call some other web service. Will you search? Will you manage? Will you maintain the? It comes pretty difficult. So there comes. So first of all, let me tell you what's the agenda of this. I'm gonna start with the separation of concerns. About very small demo example for MVC using no dependencies. Problems with Apple MVCs, then I'll do MVVM. Then the evolution of MVVM. After that, the evolution of MVP is MVVM, and MVVM comes, then I'll show a small example of MVVM. So, yeah, separation of concern is a design principle for separating a computer program into distinct sections, such that each section addresses a separate. So, in case of a mobile app, you can say business logic is a concern, your UI interface is a concern. So, how do you manage these things separately and fulfill this particular principle? Is the whole agenda we are looking at. We need to fulfill this principle, and when concerns are well separated, individual section can be reused as well as developed and updated. Let's start with MVC. So the term MVC when I started my software development, I was moved to a web project first. So it was based on Java and Spring. And Spring typically provides you a component name controller. So the purpose of controller is it controls the view, it controls the model. That's the main purpose. But let's say take one example in Android. Can you tell me what exactly is control in Android? Let's say there is one screen app. There is only one activity. All the OS callbacks, everything comes from the OS. It's inside the life cycle. It's coupled with view. So tightly coupled, I mean, that based on that life cycle view change, on pause view change, off, invalid, on destroyed completely. So it's so tightly coupled with view. That's why we go for some other factors. That's why we create a present. That's why we create view. That's the reason why. And in case of iOS, it is pretty much most of the people call it massive view controller. The reason behind is if you check out the Apple's official website, the sample they provide, it's purely everything is inside them. They don't go for any design pattern or anything. Unless it's a big app, they will explain everything. If you look at all the samples like phone book sample, there's the contacts from the book APIs. So it typically shows you how to do it, but it doesn't tell you whether it is right or not. What happens your code base if it grows, how to manage it. So you go on looking for internet regarding how to maintain code and how to make it more useful. So Apple has not provided any real guidelines for the massive view controller problem. But we'll explore it. Let me show you. So this is typically a so this is a background which I have just and so typical MPC. If this view controller is being called from another controller, then what we will do is we'll create a model person, create an instance of controller, and we'll just pass. Once the model is passed, the view controller will get the person. This is a typical screen in which there is only one button. The button says show greeting. On click of that button, we are just showing a label. So on tap of that button, we are just simply adding that. So this is a typical example of MVC in which everything is written inside the. Right now, what we are doing is just we are passing a person object and we are just making desired changes according to working. So in this case, there is no model. And everything is done inside the view control. Like clicking of the ink, and what happens when you click on it, the logic is written. Okay. Let's see. So this is the web MVC which we have. Web MVC, we have have different controller, different view, which are HTML pages, and model classes, it might be a data. This is web MVC, which was designed for specific purpose using Java and Spring architecture. I'm not sure particularly whether it is being used by other thing or not, but I learned it that from the web design. What actual MVC is this? View and controller are tightly coupled with view lifecycle, UI view, and UI view controller, and they both are coupled. And they just call the model and get. So most of the time, what happens, what we are going to do is inside the view controller, because there is no separation of concern. We are not separating anything, and most of the time, what we do here is in self or row index, we call this table view control view, identify as user self, and we write whole logic inside the row for identity. This is what typically we are doing. So what are the problems with MVC? There are three things which I'm gonna use to explain use and the features of a particular design pattern: distribution, testability, and result. Distribution tells you how distributed your code is across the whole app, whole design you have created for the application. In this case, the view and models are in fact separated, but the view and controller are tightly coupled. This is testability. Whether are you going to able to test the logic? No, because when you click on a particular button, so why we are not able to test the view control? Can anyone tell me? Why can't we test the UI view control? The reason behind, I'll tell you, is the main dependency is UI view. You always write code inside the UI view controller with porting the UI kit lab, and we cannot forget the hard dependency with the. That's why we are not able to test the product. So in these cases, what we do is we separate the logic which we are going to render on the view in a separate way, and we test those. At least we can test some of them rather than none. So testability due to batch distribution, you will probably only test your model, because model is in separate class. You can test that. Apart from that, you cannot test your ease of use. Oh, it's really nothing you have to do. You just have to write everything inside your view controller, and everything will work properly. Yeah, and easily maintained by inexperienced. So problem with MVC, your UI view controller at mass. Same example. We have a just added example of Android. The protocol meeting we have added a method set. Then we have declared a method. Can anyone tell me why I have extended it? Yeah, this is a protocol. This is an interface. So it's a protocol which can be used by a class. So if you try to use an extension here, it will throw your compile time. Okay. This protocol can be used by classes. So I use the class. Let's say if you want to use this particular protocol in an extension, then you need any object. Yeah. So this presenter has first of all name, so and we have moved our logic of string 30 title. And since we have the instance of view, was used to initialize the presenter, that will be all right. Now just have other operations which are required for rendering line. Apart from that, set is called by present. Set the text, whatever is applied to this. There is no logic. All these particular things you initialize and set your. Once it is set up, presenter hold logic, whatever you want to render. This is a very basic example. So this is the typical pattern which we are creating this pattern. Passive view, which owns and sends action to the presenter. Presenter owns and updates. In it modifies. And again, presenter updates the UI based on whatever data is received. So in a way, it is better than using the typical MVC. And it is maintainable. Apart from that, sure, I can show you MVC what was happening. So in MVC, what we did was on tap of that button, we were deciding here what we have. But in case of presenter, we are doing it by deciding what we want to show here. And there is a view operation here. This method is called from the presenter, and we are setting the label. Logic part, setting the data is in presenter. Typically, you are making a web call and getting the data from there, then you will create a. I have not created. I've just shown you presenter and you can. In that case, you will create another protocol for the model. You will use it, call the model here, fetching the data, then update it. So, what are the benefits here? You have the most of the responsibility divided between presenter and model with pretty dumb view. Testability is excellent because we can check the logic, we can test the logic we have written in presenter and model. So when we say testable, we actually look at whatever logic you have written in both of them, like presenter and model. These two things are testable because they don't have any dependencies on the libraries which are used by iOS, like UIKit, which I explained. What about the views? Can anyone tell me how can you test the views? Like how can you test if you have implemented the pattern perfectly, what's the way you can test the UI view? Does anyone know about GitHub? Has anyone implemented it? Okay, so what happens is code coverage is actually a thing in which how much, let's say you have 10,000 lines of code inside your app and your test cases are testing around 4,000 of source. Okay. The test case are actually testing the JUnit test cases. So the code coverage will be around 4,000 up to 10,000, like around 40%. So most of the apps aims for getting a high code coverage. The reason behind is if you have written a code which is testable, then it's a surety that it's a developer surety that it will work fine. I don't know for testers, but from developers it will run fine. So most of the times people say that it is not possible to achieve 100%. The reason behind is you cannot test the views because views are not testable. So what that's why Espresso and UI tests, which are provided by iOS and Espresso framework, which does do the automation testing. Using the automation testing, you can test the views, and using JUnit test cases, you can test the. That's how you achieve a good coverage of greater than 80%. That's the way to do. And I just now I found that there is a framework called Jacob, which has unified both the code coverage data. It provides you test UI. It grabs the data from the UI test coverage and the unit test coverage, and then it combines you in that gives you the result. So now it is possible to achieve more than 90% of the coverage, and you can tell your gives your an edge over the tester. Like you can test your own code. Let's say if you go to a builder and you ask for I want to buy a home, you never say like how you want to it build, right? You always trust the builder's quality, what quality work he has done, then only you could get a house. So quality comes first. So I would suggest start writing JUnit test cases. Ease of use in our simple example, the amount of code is doubled compared to MVCM. We have to write another class, right? But at the same time, yeah, I mean, if you have to maintain code, you have to write distributed. In most of the cases, you want to write more of. So it happens. In this case, it will happen, but things are pretty clear, right? So I'm going to compare MVVM with MVP. So this is a typical MVVM which we have of the same first name last name. And we have taking new model which we have building screen. We are showing on the click button. And we have created a closure. Does people know about closure, right? So closure is kind of thing, a function which you can pass as on. Okay? You have a function and you want to pass that function's validity to a particular another function. Then we use closure, and it resembles like this. This typically shows the return type, and this is the parameter. Then it and show reading. So we use this protocol in this particular class, and here this is the output of the string which we are going to show. Which what we are doing is we are calling another function, and this for Java developers you can assume it as a function. This is available in Kotlin also, like question mark. So now I have inside my view model another function. This closure will be set from view. So typical view controller will have model instance, which I'm calling the view models method, and in return I'm getting the view model instance. Here you can use a weak reference or that. And once you let's explain it. My button, my label, I'm adding target. That's it. So MVVM, everything is about binding. How you create a binding. What exactly is a binding? Binding is a link between your view and your view. Okay? And how you create a binding? To declare closure. If you are not using any library. If you're not using a library, then this is the way you have to do it. Inside my view model, I have my output string, my closure, and my logic. What I'm going to show hello. So how this is gonna work. So this greeting chain pattern and this binding. once you click on this particular thing, right, and the button is clicked, then only you have to show the text, right? In the click of this button, you need to implement this partition. And here, getting long, so I didn't add it. So, did tab method inside this view controller. You're gonna call the and you are initiating the view model. Yeah, once the view model is initialized, what you are doing view greeting is inside the view model. Down, I have got, I guess, the layout. Yeah, that's why I was getting pretty bit. But this did tab method, this is a UI method, is implemented for the button click on. So this method will be comparing. And take off it for your view model. So this is a typical finding project, but look at the code what you have. I mean, just for example's sake, I have created. But the issue here is creating a binding is little bit difficult in case of Swift. And that's why we go for, I would really suggest you to go for this library, which most of the people use nowadays for implementing this reactive framework. Yep. Before going for reactive, let me tell you something. It happened with one of my projects. I mean, I was asking this guy how you have implemented, what you have used inside your project. He was like, sir, I have implemented RxJava. I have used Dagger. I have used this. So use the libraries for a purpose. Don't be full up, okay? Because it's not gonna help you in long run. If you don't use the Dagger in a proper way, it might not even let you compile them. It happens. If you are going for a third-party library which provides you with a lot of support inside your project, just think about whether you need it or not. Is it the last resort you want to do? Just like if you want to, in iOS, if you want to use user defaults, you're not gonna use user defaults from a library, right? Because I have seen people using Swift user defaults are not available on GitHub. And what happened was the Swift version, they moved really from one version to 3 to 4. In 1 year, they have like released 4 versions. And on the other side, what they are doing is once the third version, like Swift 3.2, was released, next code, the support from 3.0 will be there, but in the previous version won't be. Xcode versions are increasing along with the Swift version. In that case, if a library is written in Swift 2.0, it might be possible after Swift 3.0 is released and your manager tells you to upgrade all the codes and everything, and you find that the pod was and you're stuck. So in my case, what I had to do, I had to copy the whole library code inside my and I had to change the whole syntax of the whole library for mine because the contributor of that particular pod was not active. So use the libraries which are actually required by your project. Don't blindly use because it's providing awesome features. Just look for the contributors. Look when the new version is released, how quickly you are going to get the updated version according to that. In case of project, it's a legacy. Don't have to worry about it. But in case of Swift, you have to take care about few things. So, in the end, the base lies between how well do you know your language, how well do you know about Swift, what all utilities, what all APIs it can provide so that your work is less done. You need with 2 lines of code how much you can achieve. So in that case, if you are going for Android development, just at least whatever language you are going to use, get a good grab on that. The first requirement. After that, then go for other libraries and everything. First language comes. Then if you are going for a reactive paradigm shift, it's a huge shift. Reactive based on reactive. You need to understand the reactive programming, what exactly it is, how it is implemented, how is it beneficial, whether I can use it in my project. If all these things satisfy, then go for third party. So in this case, see the reactive Cocoa, just one line it has created a bit. Really easy. House controls and user interactions. Most of the people think that if I add, we don't know much about it, but let's say you have a notifications flow all over you. What are you going to do? Will manage the design pattern accordingly. This comes, manages everything. So the next touch. So typical MVVM flow is like this. Right. So view model is UI kit independent. Just make a note of it and owns the model, notifies the view model, and then again view model updates them. That's the flow. Okay. Also, there are a few factors how you can judge whether your code written is on a right track or whether it satisfied the good conditions or right design patterns are being used. One way I can tell you, let's say you want to check whether your project is written in a right way or not. If you have not written the unit test cases, just start writing. Even if it is hard to write, second way, for testing 3,000 lines of source code inside your app, you have to write 5,000 lines of test code. Then that's how you can judge what exactly you have done. So some rules for MVVM. MVVM has a reference model. Sorry, view model has a reference model. Logic. View model should have a reference to UI kit. You should be responsible for UI handling. You should not interact with the model or vice versa. Lastly, view model is responsible only for processing logic required for driving the UI as in yeah, in terms of features, responsibilities are distributed. But testability, view model knows nothing about the view. This allows us to test it easily. Ease of use. If you take a look, at the bindings, that's a little bit of pain. But using some frameworks, having some, you already started mobile development learning at some phase. Why not start something new? Are you stuck at just being an developer? Change something and you create something which is more reusable and more stable. That's what the don't worry about the bindings. Use a library and reactive Cocoa contributors are really active. If a new version of Swift comes, 2 days you will get the updated reactive. They are really apart from reactive Cocoa, if you don't like it, you can use RX Swift and we are the most usable language. So I created small example. So this is a typical distribution of MVVM. Using Swift, you can actually overcome that binding. This I have used generics and the closure. This closure is being supplied. I mean, it's a dynamic type I have created just for the example, and I'll explain you how I'm gonna use it. So to look at the first, let me show you what exactly is that. This is the typical app, which is, this is a dish for a dish named shredded chicken salad, and this is the name of the restaurant, rating, age, description, and whether you like it. So we are working with dish details right now. So this is our view model. Typically, I have just created a simple instance of service here. Inside the web service, just getting, here you can write your API code or database calling, whatever you want. Just write it in a your order. Right now, I have just done is I've just created a dish object and applied it with inside the view control. So the IP outputs are created and they are binded with the view model. And here, all these bindings are dynamic. So once it fetches these details from the service, what it's gonna do is it will assign the value types. These bindings are directly coupled with the view. So once you change something inside this dynamic bind, it will directly directly reflect your view, name of the dish, the description, and the restaurant name, everything will be. And all those IP outlets are created inside the controller. This is the very small example, and this should be the project structure in which you should try to develop your app model, web services, and apart from that, if you have SQLite DB, you can either create a different wrapper or different group itself inside the export extensions in a different. And if you want to create utilities for validations purpose or something, again create another group. Make your code more distributed than writing everything else in one place. Okay, any questions? I have one more example I can show you. I just got listing out all the GitHub repository inside your account. That it is project structure he has used get used well. The paper and typical all those required pods which are which are gonna help you in developing your app. That is pod file. Let's use well object mapper for JSON parsing. JSON. Hello. What he has done is inside his app, he has created different folders. Inside view model, every screen has a login screen. If you look at it, you will find login. Everything is perfect. I mean, this is the best code I have seen for Swift return. I'm gonna include this thing inside the and the best thing done on the test cases. Models. Frameworks used. So please go through this example. I mean, this is one of the best example I have seen. I'll mention the link of this project and you can check it out. Very simple project. They have created parent types also referenced from the app project. They have created protocols and all the objects are which are optional types. They're not hardcore interface methods. They are optional. Right. Any doubts you have? This is, I guess, basic. So it's a UI control. We cannot allow him. I mean, you cannot separate out that thing from the UI. It's a UI view, then it is a controller also. It's tightly coupled. It out the life cycle. It's gonna always be there. So on that typical life cycle, that creates the problem. Computed load will appear. Everything is coupled inside. So what we can do is how we are going to change the main logic, how we are going to render the UI, that we can control in a separate place, that we can make it testable. So at least if you take a typical example of an application, let's say you have 10,000 lines of code inside an app. So typically 30% of it is inside. I'm just taking a guess here, but I divided, since there are 3 layers, so I've divided it. For view, it will be 30%. For the rest of them, you can separate it out and you can write test cases. That's the targeted. Oh, I'm not saying you can move to any one of them. There are a lot of things. Which model you're saying? You can select any one of the model based on their pros and cons. So each model has its own benefits. Show you one thing. So if you look at the distribution case of MVVM, MVVM view has more responsibilities than MVVM. That's the no, it's not a disadvantage. It's an advantage. But for that you need to write the base concern which I find inside the application is I want every app to be, whatever code I write, it should be tested. That's why TDD came into, picture. That's why BDD came into picture. Test-driven development, it says like whatever you are writing, if you are not able to test it, then you write the test case first, then and later you write the source, right? And you write the failing test case. Later you write the pass. So that everything is. So if you are writing code, just writing it if you don't want to worry about testability, you don't want to, make exactly, then why would you select MVC? Won't select it. It's not superior. It's not superior. I'm not saying it is superior. It's not superior. I'm not saying it.
This is superior. This is inferior. I just want to show you one thing here. Okay, so it depends. Okay, let me tell you. First thing is, what do you want? Do you want quick development? If you want quick development, you will forget everything. You will write everything in one view controller. Right? If that is the essence. if you have some time, if you can spare some time, you will invest some time in the architecting. If you have, and there are other parameters also. So this thing I want to show you. Okay. This is like the gist of today's, gist of whatever we learned today. Is iOS, it says iOS architectures, but you can just consider it architectures. So this is the first thing. Why care about architecture? These are the three things: right? Testability, ease of use, and distribution. Plus, time is another factor that comes into picture. That none of the architecture cover that part. But time is of the essence, right? So if you have to ship something, if you have to deliver something, then you will actually not care about architecture. But if you can extend it, you will definitely care about architecture because it will help you in the long run, right? And there is another point I want to add here. Don't think too much about architecture because the future it will change. It will change. So now, based on these three factors, whatever Suyash has taught, and whatever Suyash talked about, whatever Dinkar talked about. So based on three factors, if you measure the architecture, so this is apples and VC. You can see this is actually the idea, but this is what happens actually. And distribution, you can see distribution, stability, ease of use. Ease of use is very high. You can use it anytime, any way you want, but it won't be testable, it won't be distributed. And then this is the MVP, in which testability is very high. Ease of use, not so much. But yeah, distribution is actually it's better than the previous one. And MVVM, when you talk about this is the one. So it has everything here is actually better than the other. Now, if you move to Viper, right? So distribution testability is very high, but ease of use is so it depends on what is your requirement. So that's why we have all these architectures, and there are other experimental architectures also. So these are not proven, these are not tested by community. So, but still, if it eases your pain, use them. Go for them.
Okay, you can go for clean architecture.
Go for clean architecture. There is one experimental architecture called Elm architecture. You can go for that.
Because they started writing in that fashion itself. It's very hard to shift that paradigm. Making an adjustment to write test cases, it's not easy to understand. But it's gonna help you in a long run. That's the reason why we are explaining it. Yes.
So if you have a simple architecture, right, that's definitely the reality. But say if you have a good architect in your team, he designs this. If he designs this, if the architect creates this architecture, he's set up the skeleton. Now, individual developer, they can one part they can start developing, so they can be more productive. This will address, the thing about testability or not testability. Like, you want to quickly ship your product, then you should do that. Yeah, you can do that. For now, you will be safer, and for now, you'll be able to ship your product. But tomorrow, you remember that kid with spaghetti, that will happen. It's always like, it's always a compromise. It's always a trade-off between time and quality and architecture. So you have to choose which one is.
Forgot the but deadline comes.
Deadline comes first.
Deadline comes first.
And the client is always right. He says I want it by Tuesday, you give it by Tuesday. He'll not care about architecture.
But we have instances here in our organization in which the client said, no, write the code, take your. It happened. Some of them are, actually, they are real.
And some of those are actually after Monday, after 1 week. Where is the code? Can you still give me some time? Architect it first. Different topic.
It also depends on whether your client is technical, and if he is technical, whether he understands the good architecture or not. And if he understands the good architecture, then is he able to choose one or not?
Yes.
It depends.
Yeah.
Depends.
Another actually something that I came up with, not go for perfection. Don't achieve. So don't run for it. Yeah, go for good architecture, go for excellence. Perfection you're not gonna get.
It's gonna, just ease your job in your daily.
It has actually, you can create another architecture, you can add 6 more layers. So it will be very good. Everything is separatable, everything is testable, right? So but it's actually again ease of use will be it will be dark red black for you. So yeah, this is it. And the bottom line is, which architecture to choose. The bottom line is it doesn't actually matter if you're choosing anything above like MVC, if you're choosing MVP, MVVM, Hyper, whatever you choose. The bottom line is you can create your own architecture, and as long as it is following separation of concerns, as long as your code is testable, you're good. Don't have to follow MVP.
We're just showing you instances which are
these are the ones that have. And another thing is testability. Suyash also mentioned this. Testability does not mean that you test the code. It means that your code should be testable. Your code is testable, that means it's loosely coupled, everything's divided itself. You don't have to write test cases. When client is not doing it, you will not write test. So, but if your code is testable, if you've written your code in that way, and that is what we will be doing in this series actually. We will be architecting one of the apps that Suyash showed, right? There was one screen of that. So we'll be developing that app, and we'll keep the app testable. So next meetup we'll start developing that. Now we know the architecture, we covered the basics, we have done the prototyping. So now what we'll do, we will start developing the app, and we will try to keep it aligned to not just the MVVM for iOS, MVP for Android, and the code will be tested. So we'll have development meetup, the C2M development part. Then we have a testing session. So in this, we'll actually write test cases, JUnit test cases, integration test cases, XC test cases we'll use. And we will test the code, we'll see whatever we publish. And so we will, and that is the point actually where we'll see the benefit. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, so in case of iOS, what you can do is there is a functionality for recording. So what it does, just start the recording and you start playing with your app. So what it will do is it will write the code inside the class for you for doing whatever you're doing. But I won't prefer it because it's pretty much rigid. It doesn't allow you for more things like whatever you have written. I mean, most of if you are related testing automation you have to do, that's okay. You can do. Yeah, monkey runner in act.
Like a monkey. It's very legit. There is a real testing. In this case, what we will do is, if I click this activity local, this will happen. We will do this on it's working fine.
Apart from that, you can go for some cross-platform tools also like APM. So what it will do is it will once you write it in APM, you can run it in Android and iOS, provided both the UIs are almost similar. So in that case, you can use APM. That's one of the best things. And
again, any questions here? So, yeah. Oh no, we can keep it, but in that case, you learn only MVP or MVP. Cover more. It was initially the plan, but yeah, we can do this. But so if you know more, if you have more weapons in your artillery, for it, then
there is a data binding library provided by Google itself, right? Yes. You can check it out. Yeah, that you can check it.
Actually, should go for rather than MVVM, we should go for the architecture. That is basically MVVM, right? So go for it. Yes. If anybody is interested in giving a talk here, please let me know. Please let us know. You can contact us via Meetup page or directly after the meetup. So it's not like only give do it. Somebody contacted us already regarding MVVM or right, but so I mean I don't know what happened to me. I'm just talking about messaging. So if you want to give any talk here, just contact us, show us your presentation, show us the demo, and then we'll schedule it and we'll do simple session. If any other questions.
So it's an MVVM, right? You have to create a binding, and binding can be achieved via. This is one of the examples. I'm just telling you, pass the closure from the view controller to the model. So once you get the data from the model, and new model can use the similar closure to update the view. It's a kind of a binding between the view controller and the view. That's why I've used closure. Most of the people, what they do is nowadays they create closures from for the table view cell. One-click methods. If you want to call a particular thing inside the cell, they create closure. It's a similar example. From using closure, you can achieve the on-click event inside the cell for row index table. It's a binding, just serving the purpose of it. Apart from that, you can look for if you're looking to learn reactive Cocoa, then go for this side. This is the best side I have. I mean, everyone knows about it. Right? It's Raven. Just go for this side. It's a pretty big tutorial. You'll be learning a lot here. And this is for learning reactive Cocoa. If you want to run reactive programming, then you need to search for a particular book. Complete the book first, then come.
So one more thing here. I have commented on the meetup page. I have commented this link. So this is actually your Google Doc. So we will keep updating this doc. So you can join our Slack group if you're not already. And this is the list of meetup topics if you're interested. So we have covered idea and prototyping. We have covered basics, how to start Android app, how to start iOS app. We have covered these two. This was the architecture that we also covered today. I will share the recording of this very soon. And the next plan we have is designing the app and development, something spending development, then the testing. So in this case, we'll do the next step, show how to write test cases and the benefits of writing test cases, comments your entire. This is a dedicated meetup for this. Then we'll have best practices meetup. Sometimes the development. We'll cover only that. And we will try to improve the app that we're developing. We'll try to enhance it in all these fields. We'll learn about best practices and then we'll have content, how to model the app, how to integrate with and how to release it, and then we have the ideas. Last part. Go back to this follow Twitter handle. There is the Swift Online compiler if you don't have that. This is reactive programming in Android. This was one of the meetups I took, so you can watch this video. So yeah. For basics, for first two meetups, these are the recordings. So these are all a part of this Google Doc that I shared here in the mobile app architecture. So have the channel where we usually upload where we have started uploading all this meetup video. We only have 4 videos, but yeah, we'll upload it here in this project. You can watch this for data programming. Huh? You can like and share also. Subscribe also. Yeah, so you can get this link here. If you have any other solution, yeah, and another any suggestions, please.
So all these demo projects and links will be shared with the PPT, and we'll upload the PPT from there, and we'll share the link